Then, without any further ado, I'd like to introduce a man that really does not need any introduction. He is or was chairman of the Concrete Institute Strategic Committee. Am I right, Richard? Of the board. Richard was chairman of the board and is now stepping down as chairman of the board. But because Richard has been doing this for us for a while, he's been with us while we were planning this. I'd like to, Richard, please do come up and give us a message as chairman of the Concrete Institute's board from the anchor sponsors. Thank you, Richard.
Good morning, everyone. As Johan correctly said, I am the outgoing chairperson of the TCI. And unlike our president, I know when my time is up, and you don't need a secret ballot to get rid of me. This is the first real concrete conference of its kind. It's the first time that we have the TCI, the Concrete Society of South Africa, the Concrete Manufacturers Association, the CMA, and SAMA, as well as delegates and representatives from our associate members, SAICI, CISA, and SAFSEC. And I see the master builders are also here, and they will be taking part in some of the panel discussions. So it is a gathering of all the key role players in our industry. And I want to applaud all of you for agreeing to take part in this very important conference. I also want to thank the anchor sponsors, AfriSam, Lafarge, SAPACU, and PPC, for making this possible. A conference of this nature costs quite a bit of money, and thank you to the sponsors. It's not as if our industry is flourishing at the moment, so to find the kind of funds to sponsor a conference like this takes a commitment to a cause that I think we all agree we need to advance the interest of concrete. The theme this year is, I think it is the theme, I gathered it from the program, it has to do with unlocking high-performance concrete. For those of you who've had the privilege of traveling on our continent like I have, will agree that unless you continue to advance research in concrete, unless you continue to uphold standards, you will, over a period of time, start to see how infrastructure starts to fail, and the lack of skills and the lack of professionals on the continent is starting to show that. And if we don't continue to do this and invest in what we are doing today, our country will eventually go the same route as many of our countries on the continent. Just earlier this week, and I'm not saying it is as a result of bad infrastructure, but earlier this week we saw what happened in Sierra Leone with the mudslide that happened there because people were building houses and structures in places where they shouldn't be building, and bad town planning, and a whole lot of things that have caused people to lose their lives. So the little bit that we can do and the small contribution that we can make by having a conference like this and continuing to uphold standards is important for the sustainability of our industry. We also know that we've just recently received message from Stats SA that they won't be releasing certain statistics anymore. That's a worrying trend for us. Already we are starting to see the SABS is no longer functioning the way that it should. The NRCS is no longer doing the work that it should be doing. And there are lots of things that we can sit here and complain about. But my challenge to all of you as civil society, and I'm not a politician, and I'm not even going to go into politics because we know where the political situation is in our country, and we're feeling it in our economy at the moment, especially our industry, because if there is a lack of confidence as a result of the politics that we are seeing and the ratings downgrades, people don't invest in infrastructure. Infrastructure signals confidence. When people build stuff, when they build factories and plants and those sort of things, that's when our industry flourishes and thrives. And we've got economists, I'm sure, who will deal with those sorts of things. But the point I want to make is we can all sit here and we can moan about government and we can moan about what's going wrong in government, or we can take a stand and do what is right. And we need to take responsibility for self-governance in our industry. I know from what I hear from the likes of SAICI and the challenges they have with AXA and the things that are going on there, I think people need to take an active role in making sure that our industry flourishes. Government's not going to do it for us. We have to do it. We have to make sure that we self-regulate, that we uphold standards, and it's a pity that we don't have all the cement players as part of the industry bodies, but we're working towards that. We want to get everyone on board so that we can ensure that the things we used to do in the past, like having proper bag masses, making sure that when a customer buys a bag of cement, it is 50 kilograms and not 45 kilograms. Making sure that, because we have a Consumer Protection Act in South Africa, that if things go wrong with cement, there is a body that can make sure that consumers are protected. If things go wrong in our industry, we have an industry ombudsman that can speak on behalf of the industry. And those are all things we are working towards. We don't have a decent testing and laboratory facility where we can resolve disputes between cement companies and their clients, because at the moment we are all having to rely on our own facilities, and sometimes it's difficult to convince a client when you come with your own test results. So you need a neutral industry laboratory that can do proper work in terms of protecting clients. And these are all the things we are working towards as a strategy for the TCI and all the bodies that we are trying to consolidate. And I'm hoping that we will get there soon. We've made progress. We've already, Sama is already housed in the TCI building at the moment and is working very closely with TCI. But I must also stress for the other industry bodies that the TCI does not seek to dominate the industry at all. The TCI does not seek to play the leading role. We want to consolidate our industry so that we all play a meaningful role. And I think we can learn something from the politicians. The DA and the EFF, you wouldn't find two parties who are ideologically so far, so far apart than those two parties. But what is the thing that brings them together? They both want to get rid of Jacob Zuma, so they work together. And they go to the Constitutional Court together because they have a common purpose. They want to unseat the president. Whether we like what they do or not, it's not the point. The point is they have found a reason to look beyond their differences, to look at what brings them together, to focus on their common goal and work at it to try and achieve that. And I still think there are many bodies in our industry that still think that to be independent and to focus on their own little segment is far more important than working together. So I want to encourage those who are not yet on board as trying to consolidate our industry and trying to play a meaningful role to learn from the DA and the EFF. And in closing, I normally share personal stories. I'll share one more. On my dad's dying bed, all our siblings were gathered around his bed, and the one thing he said to us, he said, "My children, I want you to all stick together because blood is thicker than water." So my message to you is concrete is even thicker than blood. So let's stick together and let's make this industry a success. Enjoy the conference, enjoy your deliberations, and I hope that we will advance our industry even further as a result of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. Inspiring, motivating, eloquent as ever. Thank you very much.